Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Richard Nixon Library. My name is Jim Ellis. I am the Dean of the Marshall School of Business at the University of Southern California. And it's my pleasure today to introduce our guest. I had the pleasure of introducing Dr. Benjamin Carson about 20 years ago at an event where he spoke. And I must admit, of all the speakers I've heard in my life, I was the most mesmerized by what he had to say. And that continues to what he's talking about today and his passion for our country and for education. And so it's really a privilege to introduce him. He is truly the foremost pediatric neurosurgeon in the country. His story of his life, many of you have seen on the movie that was done and have followed him, and if you haven't, I would suggest you do because it is an extremely compelling story. And without further ado, I will introduce Ben, but we're going to go out behind the curtains this way, is the way we'll go out for the book signing, so that the people that came into the room first will be able to go out first. So we're operating on what accountants call a first in, first out strategy. So if you can help us live with that, that'll be good. Otherwise, the SEC will have us in trouble. Anyway, without further ado, let me introduce you to Dr. Benjamin Carson, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you. Candy and I are absolutely delighted to be here at this beautiful facility. I hope you've had a chance to walk around outside near the reflecting pool. Just an absolute treasure of a place and such a beautiful day as well. And, I sometimes wonder why people think that the name Nixon is such a bad name. It's not a bad name. He did a lot of wonderful things, and compared to the scandals going on today, my God. Yeah. So I hope you'll get a chance to go through the library. One of the interesting things most people probably don't know is that he had a wonderful health care program that he wrote extensively about. And, before Ted Kennedy died, he said one of his biggest regrets was that he didn't support that program. He said it was much better than anything else anybody else had come up with. So if you ever get a chance to read about it, look at it. But, think about the fact that, interestingly enough, when I retired last year, I thought that life was going to be quite peaceful for me. I was going to learn how to play the organ, and we bought a home on a golf course. I was going to play golf. I was going to read all the books that I hadn't read before and see all the movies that everybody else has ever seen, and I had never seen them before. This was going to be great. But the good Lord had a different plan for me, obviously. And so... But one of the things that really piqued my attention, of course, was the Affordable Care Act. That's in quotations, by the way. Because what is the most important thing that a person has? Their health and their health care. And, the last thing you want to do is put the most important thing you have in the hands of some faceless bureaucrat who really, in many cases, doesn't even care about you. And that's really the reasons that I rail against it. And I remember a couple of weeks ago, I was in the airport, and a lady came and sat down next to me, African-American lady, and she said, I really like you, and I'm a Democrat. But she said, but why don't you want poor people to have health care? And I said, see, you've been listening to the propaganda, and let me explain to you how it works. And, the interesting thing about, utilizing health savings accounts And I propose that you give one to every single American the day they are born, and they have it until the day they die. We have a number of different ways of funding it. And even for the most indigent people in our society, we can still use the same dollars that we use for Medicaid to fund their health savings account. And it'll cost us a lot more because we don't have all of that bureaucratic overload that we have to pay. So that money will go a great deal further. And when people have responsibility for the spending, they spend differently. It's sort of like if you come and you check into a hotel and they say, oh, all of your expenses are being taken care of. You say, oh, well, Chateaubriand. And whereas if you got to pay for it, you're saying, is there a McDonald's in here? You know, so. And people will react differently. You know, if a procedure costs $66 at this clinic and $16 at this clinic, and they're responsible, and they're going to go to the $16 one, which is going to cost the $66 one to come down to a reasonable price. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that brings the whole healthcare system into the free market economic model. See, that is what controls price, and that's what controls quality. And right now, we have no price and quality controls. It's all like a free-for-all out there, and it's not working for anybody, quite frankly. I would also give people the ability to shift money in their HSA. So let's say dad is $500 short for a very sophisticated radiological test. Mom could give it to it out of hers, or grandma, or son, or cousin, anybody in the family. Gives you enormous flexibility to cover almost anything that's likely to come up. And because virtually everything is going to be coming out of your HSA, nothing is impinging on your major medical or catastrophic insurance. The cost of that plummets, sort of like a homeowner's policy with a high deductible. It goes way down. And you make that available to people across state lines. And all of a sudden, you're talking about something that is eminently affordable. And the other thing is, everybody is the same. Your health savings account is just as valuable as your health savings account. Doesn't matter if you're Bill Gates or a bum on the street. Everybody's the same. It gets rid of the two-tiered system. That's one of the things that helps with all the health disparities that are going on. These are the kinds of things that we have to be talking about in America. We don't want any favorite groups. We don't want any groups that are dumped on. We don't want to pick and choose the laws we want to enforce, and we want to put the Constitution back on the top shelf. That's what makes a difference. And I believe all of these things are eminently possible in the society in which we live. The vast majority of Americans actually have common sense. They're logical people. The problem is they've been beaten into submission. And you know, between the PC police, the mainstream media, and all the other agencies, people are afraid. And we have incredible silliness going on. You know, last week, you know, there was a school system that told the teachers, don't address your pupils as boys and girls, because there may be somebody with gender identity issues who will be confused. Are you kidding me? I mean, I would think, I would think that was like some kind of a skit from Saturday Night Live. But this is actually going on in America today. The only way we're going to stop it, quite frankly, is we're going to have to be brave. We're going to have to be courageous, and we're going to have to be willing to stand up for what we believe in. You know, the President of the United States has said that this is not a Judeo-Christian nation. But he doesn't get to decide that. We get to decide what kind of nation we are. And we get to decide on what our values are and what the principles are that drive us. And we have to stop allowing the media and politicians and other people to define that for us. But the only way that's going to happen is that every single one of you has to realize that you have a sphere of influence. You have an uncle who hasn't voted in 20 years. You have an invalid aunt who can't get to the voting booth. You need to talk to that uncle. You need to make sure that aunt has an absentee ballot. If she can't see, you need to help her fill it out. Get all of those people out there who are missing in action and help them to understand that they are essential to the type of government that we have, where the people are at the pinnacle. But the people can only exercise their power if they are informed. They must be well informed. And when we have well-informed people who are engaged, that's when the system works the way it's supposed to. Because you see, our government is supposed to conform to the will of the people, not the other way around. And, you know, I am 100% convinced that we do have within our own selves, we the people, have the ability to make the change. Thomas Jefferson said, sometimes the people will go to sleep and bad things will happen. But when it gets so bad, the people will awaken. Well, guess what? It's time to wake up now. You know, we're there. We're there. And with the help of each one of you. And I hope you will all go home and sign the petition. Go on the internet, look up One Vote. It's a new ebook. It's also coming out in paperback form. Sign the petition that you will become an informed voter. And when you sign it, you get a free copy of the book, of the ebook, which gives you further information, tells you who your representatives are, how they voted, not how they said they voted, but how they voted, and what their record is and where they fit on the whole philosophical scale, where you fit on the scale. Is there an intersection there, or are you in different places? A lot of people vote for the wrong party. They vote for people who are totally against the very things that they believe, because they do it out of habit, or they do it because, you know, that's what they think they're expected to do. But, you know, we're made in the image of God, and He gave us brains so that we could think for ourselves, you know? And with that, what I'm going to do is, I think we have time for a few questions.
Yes, Dr. Carson. We have. I'm right to your left here.
Where are you?
In front of you. Right here. In front of you. To your left.
Oh.
We have time for two really quick questions. Then we'll get into this book signing. You can see that there's a lot of you. I'm going to ask that you all exit the curtain behind Dr. Carson. Follow our docents. They will escort you out to our gardens and ultimately up into our great room where we're going to do the signing. Our first question comes from a 10-year-old, Nathan Hoxie. Nathan, what's your question?
How can I become a brain surgeon and lead the country like you're going to?
How can I become a brain surgeon and lead the country like you're going to?
Now, that's actually a very good question, because, you know, the real key is education. And, you know, I was born into a bad situation, and, you know, grew up with dire poverty, and I hated poverty. You know, some people hate spiders and snakes. I hated poverty. I was absolutely sure there was some mistake, and I was born into the wrong family. And, but, you know, what I had was so important, and that was a mother who would not be a victim. She refused to be a victim. And she never made excuses for herself, and she never accepted excuses from us. And she never felt sorry for herself, which was a good thing. The problem was she didn't feel sorry for us either. So there was never any excuse that was adequate. And she made us read books, and I hated it. But a funny thing happened. As I started reading books, particularly about people of great accomplishment, I began to realize one very important thing, and that is the person who is most responsible for what happens to you in life is you. It's not somebody else. And once I understood that, poverty didn't bother me anymore because I knew it was only temporary, and I knew that I could change it. And therefore, I stopped listening to all the naysayers, all the negative people around me who were saying, this is against you, and this is against you, and those people. I said, forget about it. I don't have time for that. What I need to do is improve myself. I need to learn as much as I can. I need to make myself valuable. And by doing that, all the doors opened. Because the great divide in our nation right now is education. And we have to do everything we can to bring it back to the level that it used to be in this country. We used to have the best public education system in the world. Now we have the best propaganda system in the world. And we just have to change that. So in answer to your question, get yourself extremely well educated. As far as the other part is concerned, you do your best and let God do the rest.
Our next and last question is coming right here.
Hi, Danny Espinoza. First of all, thank you for coming onto the scene when Washington politics, the canvas is full of corruption and greed and just partisan. My question is with Washington politics being a fraternity of closed memberships, if you run as an independent, what do you think that would do to the Republican vote if you don't get the Republican nomination?
Okay. Well, first of all, I would never do that because I think we saw the result of that when Ross Perot ran. And so you don't want to fracture the vote. So if I ran, I would have to run as a Democrat or Republican. And I seriously doubt that I would be welcome in the Democrat Party. So if I ran, I would run as a Republican. But you have to... but as far as all the corruption and the graft and stuff that's going on, and a lot of people say you can't participate in that kind of system unless you adopt those morals. See, I don't believe that for 1 second. And I think that there are enough people here with integrity, and we have the ability, particularly with social media now, even if all the media tries to shut you down, which they have tried very much to do with me, but they can't because the good Lord has provided me with mechanisms like my syndicated column and like Fox News. We'd be Cuba if there were no Fox News, I gotta tell you. And, you know, they can twist and turn things as much as they want. But what they don't understand, and they miscalculated, they were doing a great job in terms of fundamentally changing this nation, in terms of infiltrating the school systems, in terms of infiltrating the media, all this. They've done a great job. Everything was perfect, except they underestimated the intelligence of the American people. The people are not as stupid as they think they are. Many of them are stupid, but, okay. But I'm talking about overall. Overall, people are not as easily manipulated as they actually believe they are. And they thought they could just, you know, sprinkle a little magic and people would go along like the Pied Piper. But I can guarantee you, because I'm in 4 or 5 states every week talking to large, enthusiastic crowds, and the people of this nation are waking up, and you're going to see something very special happen on November the 4th, and that's just going to be the beginning. That's just going to be the beginning. And that will have to continue to build until 2016. And when we gain control, and when I say we, I'm talking about people with common sense. I don't care whether they're Republicans or Democrats, but when we gain control and we govern in a way that is fair to everybody, and we don't pick and choose who we want to be the winners and losers, and we do things according to the will of the people, because this country was supposed to be for of and by the people, not for of and by the government. And when that happens, our best days will clearly be ahead of us. Thank you all very much.